Hello everyone, it's Rick. It is May 12th, 2017. You can reach me at rick0327@me.com. My second video today. I wanted to start the day off on a positive note. We are making progress, I promise you. We're very close now. Everybody that's done, followed the instructions, sent paperwork out to the clerk, sent interrogatories out to the child support, to your employer, making progress, filed demand to vacate in the courts. Then we're in a position now with the court, you can file an appeal at the appellate level. The interrogatories with child support on your employer, you can file a writ of mandamus in the courts to force them to compel your employer, the child support agency, to comply. And ultimately, it's going to be proven that they cannot substantiate the debt. And this is the reason why they made child support the way it is. It's based off of presumption after presumption after presumption. And in order for us to dispel these presumptions, we have to go, we're finding out just by the interrogatories, they refuse to respond, and when they do respond, they claim they played a lawyer game with the, I don't know what they mean here, You don't know what we mean? We're asking you to show me the debt. Where's the debt? I'm asking you, are you complying with the Constitution? Are you? Yes, no? But they can't answer the questions. Lawyers don't like answering questions. Their value is corrupting the question. They corrupt everything. That's what lawyers do. They corrupt things. They take something very simple and they corrupt it. You and I want to make an agreement. You know what? I'm going to pay you, so on and so forth. And then they got to make up a 3-page agreement for something so simple as that. Like a law. Read a law. They can explain a law, let's say for argument's sake, let's just say they can explain a law in 50 words. Like, all right, like a Twitter. 144 characters. Twitter gives you 144 characters to make a statement. Okay, now with a law, let's say you got 144 characters. What they do is they make a law and they use 144,000 characters. That it's so hard to understand that you need a lawyer. You got it? They corrupt it, and they need the person like a lawyer, to explain it, because they understand gibberish. They understand legalese. We don't. Okay? Plenty of times I know how to do it now, but in the beginning I would read something, I'm like, what the F are they trying to say? I just say fuck. I've been cursing lately, But, so now we're forced, you're forced to go to a court, and they know this. Like these people, like in Indiana. I've been talking about Indiana my last couple of videos, the child support agency. They're just complete, they don't give a shit. Their attitude is, you know what? Take me to court. That's not what they're saying, but that's what their attitude is. Take me to court. When I was a cop, we had a contract. And I work for a smaller police. I'm in the fourth biggest police agency. The third biggest police agency in the New York area. No, it wasn't NYPD, but NYPD they came to my job. All right, because we made more money and we had a better contract. But we had a contract, and we had a boss whose attitude was like, all right, well, file a grievance. That was his response. File a grievance. In other words, he knew that the grievance, by the time the grievance gets filed and answered, he would have saved thousands of dollars in overtime because of work rules. He'd file a grievance on a work rule situation. So he would save money. It's the same thing with the child support, like I said this morning. They know that by the time we figure this out, or let's say we know what we're doing from the beginning, it's still going to take several months. They're going to make their money. They cannot lose. It's a no-lose situation for them. Okay? So that's the reason why I had you guys doing things a little by slowly, bringing you along. I said it in a video a couple of months ago. I'm like, ultimately, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to have you in a position to do this. All right? We've come to that place now. That's the reason why I did the writ of mandamus video. And then I'm going to do the writ of prohibition. Okay? If you have nothing to do, just put in keyword in the YouTube, Madison versus Marbury, or Marbury versus Madison. Don't worry, it'll come up. And it's the landmark Supreme Court decision about what we're doing. And the writ of mandamus is asking, do you have jurisdiction to do what you're doing, basically? And if not, they're going to have to stay. You have jurisdiction, you got evidence, that whole thing. Are you acting in excess of jurisdiction? All of these questions. And it's also judicial review, because they want you to think that you're in the court, but we're really not. We're an administrative court. That's the reason why we got to file a writ of mandamus for a judicial review. And the higher courts, they have to act in a proper way. That they cannot act as arrogantly as the lower courts, because the lower courts know they're going to get away with it, because most of the people there, they have no idea what's going on. Most of the lawyers there are liars and they're corrupt, and they're not going to tell their clients, well, you know what? Don't worry about this, judge. I'm going to go, when we leave here, I'm going to go file a petition for a writ of mandamus. Don't worry, I'm going to get this judge or magistrate to follow the law. Has any of you had your lawyer tell you that? Has any of you had your lawyer say, you know what, when we leave here, I'm going to file a writ of mandamus to make this judge or support magistrate, whatever, follow the law? Has any of you had a lawyer do that for you? Any of you got a court-appointed lawyer, or you have a lawyer, ask them about a writ of mandamus. Say, can we get the judge to follow the law by filing a writ of mandamus? See what they say. I'm sure you're going to get an interesting response. Okay? Because I discovered in my dealings with lawyers, they don't like answering questions. They hate answering questions, especially if you know what you're talking about, like myself. Okay? They hate me. So, getting back to what I was discussing about being in the right place, we've proven there's no money judgments, okay? Because why? We sent out the papers to the clerk's office. We proved there's no undertaking. Why? Because the same thing. We have the clerk's office playing games, of course. What's an undertaking? Like they don't know what an undertaking is. One guy was on the phone, he told me, and I may have mentioned this in a video, but I'll mention it again because I got new subscribers all the time. But he's on the phone with the clerk, and he's, speaking to the clerk, and he's going on, well, you guys I'm under duress because you guys are threatening to arrest me. And the clerk goes, now mind you, the clerk was playing dumb before. But then when he said that, because, threatening to arrest somebody when you don't have when you're not allowed to is kind of, you could be sued for that. All right? So the clerk automatically knew, well, we weren't threatening that. We said you may be arrested. May, shalls, or future tenses. It means it may not happen. Okay? Now, how did that clerk know to say that? Because somebody told the clerk. It probably wasn't even a clerk. It was an employee, a deputy clerk. Okay? This is what we're dealing with. So, but we're getting all our ducks in a row. Okay, and if you're thinking about making a donation to get your paperwork, you should do it, because it's a journey. I mean, there is no silver bullet, guys. I'm telling you something right now. You're not going to be able to mail paperwork to the child support agency and scare them. They don't scare. They do not scare. That's why I don't waste my time with those people. The only thing we're sending to the child support agency are interrogatories. That's it. Okay? And you know what? Also we've asked to validate a debt. That's it, okay? Interrogatories, validating debt. Where's the proof that I owe money? That way down the road, when we're in the court by filing writ of mandamus, you could say on such and such a date, I asked them to show me the debt, and I asked them to stop. Then I asked them for proof by interrogatory, an acceptable device for discovery. They chose not to respond. The court will have no choice but to grant you what you're asking for. You're boxing them in. They're not there to help us. We know this. That's the reason why I think the way I think. I think like an investigator, a cop, because I used to do this stuff. I used to have to know what a lawyer was going to ask me before I made the arrest, because I used to do drug interdiction. So I would grab mules with drugs, which is very difficult to do legally. I wasn't planting the drugs on them, so it was like if I was I wasn't breaking the law, I was bending the rules to get at the drugs. So I would use trickery to get the mule to give up the drugs. Oh, you know what? If you don't, what are you doing here? Where are you going? I'm visiting my mother. I'm visiting my aunt. Well, where's your aunt live? She know what. How old are you? Why are you nervous? Okay, well, listen, if you're carrying drugs, I'm going to bring a drug dog over here. And, little things like that. I'm tricking them into giving themselves up because they know that they're dirty. I didn't put the drugs on them, but I had to know this stuff. That way down the road, when I'm in grand jury or I'm in a probable cause hearing down the road, I could articulate it. I just didn't say, well, officer, why'd you walk up to this one person? Well, based on my training and experience, he appeared to be youthful looking, he appeared to be lost, whatever. Things like that. I found out he came from a known drug location and so on and so forth. But that's what we're doing here. I'm lining everything up that down the road, when we're finally in the Supreme Court or the Appellate Division, okay, filing the writ of mandamus, filing the writ of prohibition, okay, even writ of certiorari, which is a combination of both, and I'll get into that one day, that we have all our ducks in a row that say that, you know what, we asked them to do this. I'm only here because I have no choice. It's a last, ditch effort to get a judicial review and a remedy. And if we have everything lined up, everything should work out. Okay? All right, so listen, you guys, I'm going to probably do a video again tomorrow. I got to do this writ of prohibition. I've been kind of busy the last couple of days. Been getting a lot of questions. I think it's a full moon. And, I had somebody today. Here's something with my paperwork as well. We're also reaching out to places to, let's say you're waiting. It's probably coming that you may go to court. You have an idea it's coming. What we're doing is we're jumping. We're thinking ahead. We're going to go and say, okay, well, listen. Apparently, we can't be paying child support unless somebody's received public assistance, welfare. All right, so you know what I'm going to try and do? I'm going to try and find out, do we owe a debt? All right, so we got to reach out to certain people. Do I owe a debt to the United States, to the federal government? Okay, that way, if you're called to court, they're saying, oh, we gotta establish child support, we could say, no, we do not, because I do not owe any money. My children are not receiving public assistance. And let's say they are. I didn't make a contract. I didn't sign a contract, to receive services from my child. The mother did. She's obligated to repay it, not me. Okay? I've been paying child support. Even if you're not, you say you are. That's just my opinion. I'm not telling you to do that, but let them prove that you're not. It's very difficult. You got to remember something. They're making the claim. They're claiming you got to pay child support. All we're trying to do is to say, okay, well, you're making the claim. Prove it. Well, as we're finding out, they don't like to prove anything. They like to, they'll use all kinds of ways to avoid answering a question. As I said earlier, by the corruptors, the lawyers. All right, so I'm going to shut this video down. I'm talking to you guys. I got lost. I got stuck in traffic, but it's a good video. All right, so enjoy the rest of your Friday.